Hello and welcome back to Total Justice Gaming's Transformer TCG segment Bot Talk. As always, I am Joe Snell and we're looking at a new deck profile today. Today is actually a bit special. This is the deck that inspired me to actually get into the game. It's Insecticons. We've seen over the course of since the game's inception that Insecticons are extremely powerful. We have also been seeing that a lot of decks come out and Insecticons are very simple to use, yet they're a very effective deck. When I was curious about the Transformers TCG, and Insecticons were always my favorite. I loved them in Transformers Devastation. They were, quite frankly, some of the hardest bosses in that video game. And I wanted to check them out and see how well they were. Set 3 had not come out yet, but I was highly interested in Sergeant Scrapnel because of his ability. We'll just run down the list right now. So Sergeant Scrapnel in bug mode is a 411-2 with Brave, which for those of you that are interested in watching this video, Brave is the Hearthstone equivalent to Taunt, meaning if they have to attack anybody, they have to attack him. And then in his bot mode, oh, and Scrapnel's thing. Excuse me, I keep forgetting this, but you guys do need to. I do need to remember to keep doing this for you guys. Scrapnel is a leader and Insecticon, and he's melee. Flipping him over into bot mode, Scrapnel retains all of his traits of leader, Insecticon, and melee. He is now a 5'11" 1. Replacing his Brave ability is the ability of an upgrade is scrap from one or more of your characters, repair 1 damage from him. So in Beetle mode, he tanks and is your damage sponge and your taunt to divert attention away from your other Insecticons. And Scrapnel in his Bob mode lets you repair damage from him. So I wanted to try and make an Insecticon deck that abuses this, both sides of the abilities. Let you be a damage sponge and let all combat direct to him, while keeping him alive through various healing means. So we're going to be looking at the other two Insecticons. The other two Insecticons I run in this deck, which is very abnormal from the standard Insecticon lineup. Usually you'll see Insecticon decks with Brennan, Ransack, Kickback most definitely, because Kickback is very, very strong. But I elected to go with Chop Shop and Barrage. So Chop Shop is a Insecticon in melee. He is a 492 with the Beetle mode ability of when you flip to this mode, scrap all upgrades from this character. For each one scrapped this way, draw a card and repair 1 damage from one of your other Insecticons. Barrage over here, on the other hand, is also a Insecticon in melee. He's a 311-2. He has the ability of when you flip to this mode, one of your characters gets pierced 2 until the end of turn, and then explains what pierce is. Looking at the robot modes, we see that Chop Shop is now still Insecticon melee. He is a 491 with the ability of when this attacks, you may move an upgrade from one of your other characters to Chop Shop. Likewise, over here with Bombshell, or excuse me, not Bombshell, Barrage, he's an Insecticon with ranged. He becomes a 5'11" 1 with the ability of when he is attacking a damaged character, Barrage gets bold 2. So Chop Shop will be taking all of our upgrades and scrapping them. Depending on when you scrap them and how your board is arranged, you'll get some really, really nice healing bonuses out of this. Barrage is there just to kill off characters because he has just as much damage potential, maybe even more than Kickback. I understand with Kickback you could potentially be flipping up to 8 cards. With Barrage and the way the deck is set up, you'll be flipping 8 cards as well, possibly even 10. On top of that, however, unlike Kickback, Barrage already comes in at a hefty 5 attack. So really, it's potentially 7 attack. If you think about how you flip cards, if you only get 2 orange pips, he's a 7. than bold 2, which makes him even more aggressive. All in all, this deck is 22 stars, which also plays into the build very, very well, because this allows us, when we get into our action cards, to run 3 of the new 1-star orange double pips. This deck is very, very aggressive. However, it is a bit more complicated than the straightforward kickback Insecticon deck. There are some tricks. There's allowing for survivability. There's healing. There's draw power. There's a lot going on in this deck. Based around these 3 things, I got to playtest this quite a bit at our inaugural Bots and Brews event over here in Nashville. And I was trading bot for bot against Hot Wheels. Someone brought a Hot Wheels deck. And it would depend on who goes first and what was and pretty much what was flipped. But pretty much it would always be, I take their bot, they take my bot, I take their bot, they take mine, and it would really come down to who flipped better, who went first, and how much I could heal Scrapnel and keep him on the board to divert attacks from the other 2 Insecticons. So this lineup is actually very, very potent. Moving right into the battle deck. For weapons, we are of course going to be running 3 Erratic Lightning. Now, we're going to be looking at quite a bit of these cards in the battle deck. There's one thing I do want to stress. You are going to have very, very little equipment attached to your Insecticons throughout the entire battle, because mostly you'll be running them to Chop Shop for heals and draw power. If anything, I would be keeping at least the bolds on Barrage, and any armor possibly on Scrapnel to improve his survivability. But save for that, the majority of these weapons, armors, and utilities will be on Chop Shop just to scrap them at a later date. Or possibly that same turn, depending on what actions you have. So we're running 3 Erratic Lightning, which is a weapon. Gives +3 and +3 attack and -1 defense. It's a single orange pip. We'll of course be running 3 copies of Flamethrower to give bold 2. This is going to be one of the cards we'll be putting on Barrage. Speaks for itself. It's a single orange pip at bold 2. 3 copies of Grenade Launcher. This actually has an added benefit now. On top of giving Barrage or whoever you need the +4, be it Barrage or Chop Shop, very rarely do you ever want to attack with Scrapnel outside of the first thing of the game. But should you have to, if Scrapnel has already taken damage and is in bot mode, whenever you swing with the Grenade Launcher and it scraps, it does give the additional benefit now of healing Scrapnel 1. So, on top of pushing through damage, potentially killing a bot, you're also healing Scrapnel. So, we're running 3 of this. We are running 2 copies of Enforcement Batons. It's a single pip, +1 damage, single orange pip and green pip, meaning we can pick it up anytime we want. So whenever we scrap it, we flip it, we can pick it up just to put on top Chop Shop. And when you put this on a character, we scrap an enemy weapon. So it's also weapon control for the opposing characters. So we play 2 of this. And we play 2 Combat Dagger. Combat Dagger, I know it's a little hard to see, but it's an orange and a black. It gives bold 1. Again, we can put this on Barrage, give him essentially bold 3, letting him become, let me think, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 attack every time he swings, potentially. If we don't get even more, if we get any of the double orange pips. But we are also running 2 of this, so we can also put this on Chop Shop, let him scrap it for health and draw. Moving into our armors, we are running 3 copies of Improvised Shield, we are running this purely for the double orange pip. There's absolutely no reason to put this on anybody. If we would again put this on Chop Shop just to be able to get it out of our hands. We have no way of planning. This gets it back in our scrap pile. Should we actually draw it in hand, it is a dead card otherwise, but again, with Chop Shop on board, this turns into a heal and a draw. For Scrapnel, this turns into a heal 2 and a draw. Should Scrapnel be in bot mode while Chop Shop scraps it. We are running 2 copies of Scrapper Gauntlet. Scrapper Gauntlet gives us +1 defense. It's a single orange pip. When you put this on a character, scrap an enemy weapon. Again, more weapon control, but with the added bonus if you play it early game, you also get a free draw. So we could be putting this on Scrapnel while he's in bug mode, giving him +3 defense, which is really, really good considering what he is in the deck for. We are running 2 copies of Reactive Armor. This is a orange-green, meaning we can pick it up. To be putting it on somebody, probably Chop Shop, maybe Scrapnel, again for the added bonus of defense. We do want to actually put this one on Chop Shop more than we want to put Scrapper Gauntlets on Chop Shop. Reason for it again is we get more profit for putting it on Chop Shop. When it scraps from a character, meaning when we use Chop Shop's ability, we will scrap an enemy armor. We will draw a card. We will heal 1 from scrap. We will heal 1 via Chop Shop's ability, and again, should Scrapnel be in bot mode at the time of scrapping, we will heal 2 from Scrapnel, because Scrapnel is going to be our healing target in this deck. We want to ensure his survivability. I've had games last night at Bots and Brew down here in Nashville. I will keep popping that. I want to promote that as much as possible. Where we have, they've gotten Scrapnel down to 2, and I've gotten him all the way back up to 6. I've gotten him back up to 9, just from constant upgrade scrapping and knowing the right time to flip him back and forth. So we're running 2 of these. Next up, since we are a 22-star deck, we will be running 3 copies of Full Loadout. This lets us just dump equipment onto Chop Shop for massive healing and massive draws. On top of that, this is our second double orange pip aside from Improvised Shield, meaning we have much more opportunities to put through massive, massive damage because we now have 6 double orange pips. Since it's an action, it lets us do our action phase stuff, which is fine. But we are looking at this card is just as versatile as the rest of it because this lets us get, for playing a single card, we can dump stuff on Chop Shop, get 3 cards, potentially heal 6 from Scrapnel, heal 3 from anybody else, should we be able to fully load out Chop Shop. But we're also looking at it as this is a double orange pip that can be utilized and is not necessarily an entirely dead card when it gets into your hands. We will also be running 3 copies of Reckless Charge. One of your characters gets +4 attack and at the end of turn do 3 damage. I have suicided barrage into people using this, and it did pay off. Again, it's also a single orange pip. We are running, of course, 3 copies of Supercharge. This is a bold deck. We do need to get as much bold as possible. Bold on Barrage, so bold 5 into a damaged unit, or bold 3 into a non-damaged unit. Either way, you are going to be hitting hard and possibly killing them. 2 copies of Incoming Transmission. Draw 2 and plan 1. Let's us get a double orange pip out of our hand, put it on top of the deck before we swing. That's just 2 cards. There was a wonderful video, and I do not remember who it was. And to you, sir, I apologize. Your look into all the draw cards in Transformers thus far was very good. You are only getting a +1. You're actually really evening out. You're playing a card to draw 1, to draw 2. You draw the 2, but you've already lost 1, so that's only at a +1. Then you're taking the card from hand, putting it on top of your deck, meaning you break even on this card. But this is still an absolutely spectacular card because it lets you get the double orange pips that are sitting in your hand that you can't put on any of your Insecticons to at least make sure you're going to try and kill them that turn. We are running 2 copies of Ramming Speed. We already have a lot of equipment removal in this deck. But much like how I absolutely love Vaporize, this is the orange equivalent to Vaporize. And I can choose anything to scrap off of them. Battle Masters, armors, utilities, other weapons. It's just a flat removal. And you know I love flat removal. Moving into our white pips, we are running 2 copies of Datapad. 1 in attacks, draw a card, then plan 1. Again, lets us draw a card, lets us plan. So we're kind of breaking even, but lets us see more of the deck, and again, potentially gets a double orange on top of the deck. We're running 2 copies of Frag Toss. Frag Toss is a orange pip that lets us force the opponent to do 8 damage to a character. And then if we're all Decepticons, which they are, the opponent does 1 more damage to the same chosen character. I am 50-50 on this card because the opponent gets to choose. So they're going to go with their beefiest character, or they're going to go with their character with the highest armor defense. On the bright side, pardon, brain stop. On the bright side, they are doing 2 damage because we all are Decepticons in this deck. This can also potentially be a target for Barrage. You just wait them out with their damaged character on the attacks, and eventually Barrage will go into them and probably will kill them. I'm still kind of torn. I kind of want this to be Rock Toss because it lets me pick who's doing damage to them, and then Barrage can do his thing, but it's another orange pip and another black pip, but it's only doing 1 damage. So I think the trade-off here is this is better because this lets me flip more and does 2 damage to a character. Yes, it's their choosing, but at the same time, it's 2 free damage. And you never know when 2 free damage is going to come in handy because you can play this when they're down to their last bot. And that 2 damage prior to you swinging can make a world of difference. So we're running 2 of this. And finally, the last 2 cards of the deck. 3 cards of the deck. Pardon me, I can't do math this early in the morning. Is Escape Routes. This is the tricky way we get to Flip Chop Shop. Sweep up all of our equipment and then transform Chop Shop back to net us cards and heal. It's also reoccurable because it's a green pip. So that is the deck, guys. I really, really enjoy this deck. This was the first deck that I set out to build. I have tweaked this thing to where I have asked many, many people in the community, what more can I do to this deck? And honestly, I don't think there is too much anything else I can do. So much so that I can't even devise a sideboard. If I was going to put out a bot, I guess Kickback. But I'm trading a solid 5 attack for a 0 with multiple flips. So I'm kind of starting backwards. I really don't know who else I could put into this deck. It's really, really hard. As for sideboard cards in the battle deck itself, again, I've gone through, I've asked multiple people. RJ from Wreck and Roll came down. Me and him sat and looked at this. There's nothing that him and I could figure out what could be done to make a good sideboard for this deck. Everything in this deck is needed to make this deck function as efficiently as possible. So I can't give you guys a side deck this time, and I'm very, very sorry for that. But by all means, guys, this is what I like to call Big Bad Beetle Bold. It is my Insecticon deck. This is a bit more versatile than the straightforward attack. And while I do love the straightforward attack, I like the intricacy, I like the survivability of this deck. Um, I'm going to be taking it to every time I go to Bots and Brews. Uh, Whenever that is, every day, once a week. I'll be taking that to refine it even more and see if I can't tweak it more. Hopefully stuff from the new sets coming in Siege 2 will boost this even further. But guys, again, thank you so much for watching. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting out content once a week very soon. Hopefully, I'll be able to start dropping match videos. Um, I feel comfortable enough, and now I have a place I can do that at. Um, if you guys are coming to Nashville for any reason, please hit me up. I'll let you know when the next Bots and Brews is. We have a wonderful location now where we get together and play games. The community here in Nashville is growing quite well. I was very, very surprised. I do want to give a shout out and thanks to RJ for coming down and spending a night of gaming with us. It taught us so much. Uh, we learned a whole bunch from him. We didn't learn any tech from him. We just learned how to be better players and look at the game a little bit better and a little bit deeper. So shout outs and thanks to him. My name is Joe, and to our one, and let's say go.